Welcome to the Modern Monk Podcast. This is episode number 6.
I believe so.
And I am here with Mr. Toby Chilver. My name is Cormac Taylor. Today we're talking about the 80-20 principle. First of all, how you doing, Tobes?
Feeling good, ready to get into it.
Okay, let's do it. First of all, what is the 80-20 principle?
For me, I see it as a principle that allows you to maximize the value you're getting out of your time and effort. I think a big part of what we're doing and the sphere that we're in, the type of people that we talk to, it's very type A. You have goals, you have schedules, you have priorities. Everything is structured, and I think in that sphere, there's a tendency to lean into obsession and to take things to the extreme. And so I think the 80-20 principle is a counter to that. It's a reminder that, hey, there's a point here where you're putting in all this time and effort and you're not really getting a lot out of it. The 80-20 principle is basically you getting the most value. So not always the most outcome or the most biggest goal, whatever, the most value.
Yeah, I like that. It's very true because a lot of people in the space, it's very grind set, like let me do as much as physically possible. And as you said, the diminishing returns will kick in and you're at the point where you're doing a lot of work for very little return. And yeah, the 80-20 is kind of a counter to that. It's saying, well, these are the few things that if you do these are going to get you most of the results. And after that, it's not going to make much of a difference. So, I think the definition of the 80-20 principle, and I didn't search this up, but I assume it's something like this, is the 80-20 principle would be the 20% of things that you can do that are going to get you 80% of the results. And then the rest is the other 80% of things that you can do to get you the other 20% of your results. The way I see it is the 80-20 principle is doing behaviors that move you towards a desired outcome before the point of diminishing returns. I'll give you an example of this. So if we think about someone who's trying to get good quality sleep, they're like, okay, if I can improve my sleep, this is going to be very beneficial because it's going to improve my recovery from workouts. I'm going to have better mental clarity throughout the day. I'm going to operate, function better as a person. It's like, okay, I have the goal of getting better quality sleep. If you're trying to do that, one way you could do this is, okay, I want to get my sleep score between an 80 to a 90. To do that, I need to go to bed pretty similar times most of the time. I don't need to be super 100% consistent. Maybe I put on some blue light blocking glasses before bed. Probably don't even have to do that. Maybe I wear an eye mask and some earplugs. Do these kind of things. Cool, I can get myself to an 80 to a 90 sleep score. This is going to get me, I would say realistically, 95% of the returns of getting good quality sleep. If I wanted to get my sleep from a 90 to a 100, I would probably have to go to bed at the same time every single night, wake up at the same time every single day, not eat food like 5 hours before bed, never touch caffeine. I probably couldn't sleep in the same bed as my partner. I could never go to any social events, right? I just have to have a horrible lifestyle to get that 100 sleep score, which is going to improve my ability to sleep, that return I get from good quality sleep, by maybe 5%. Probably not worth your time, but a huge investment on your life. And I think that's where the 80-20 comes in. It's like, okay, here are a few things I can do to get a good sleep. Cool, I get most of the return. I'm not going to worry about all these other things I can do to get to that maxed out sleep score.
Yeah, you're talking about all like the associated costs with getting that additional bit of value. Yeah, that 80% of most of the benefits comes from really little easy set and forget things. And you keep them within you give them some buffer. And then getting that last 20% requires 80% of all your willpower and being super strict and. It's not worth it for most things. So, no. We've been following this principle for a little while now. Give me some examples.
Okay, so a big one, I think, is we both have a sort of fitness tilt to our lifestyle. We like things like going to the gym, trying to improve the physique, get stronger, things like running. If I wanted to get as jacked as physically possible, okay, realistically, I would probably have to go to the gym every single day, put huge amounts of volume in, because technically that would be slightly better. Instead of doing that, I've said, okay, I'll go to the gym 4 days a week. This is going to get me 80, 90, 95% of the results. That's it. That's all I'm going to do. Same with running. I'm going to run 3 days a week. If I ran 7 days a week, I would progress faster at running. I'm not going to worry about that because I'm getting most of the benefits from running without completely killing my lifestyle. So that was a big one in terms of the fitness one. I think a big one that's going to come up for us is the traveling one. So we're both planning on going overseas next year. We're going to be living in multiple different countries. A lot of people, when they travel, the way they do it is they go to a country, they throw aside all of their goals, everything they're doing, and they say, all right, I'm in a different country. I'm going to spend all of my money and spend all of my time just partying, right? This is my holiday. This is what I'm going to do. Instead of doing that, we've said, okay, I'm going to go to these different countries, but I'm also going to be working at the same time. I'm also going to be doing pretty similar things to what that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. Yes, I get to experience the place I'm in. I get to experience a lot of these things. It's not going to be as great of an experience as if I just went all in, just didn't do anything, just threw all my money at everything and just had as much fun as possible. But I get to do this while I continue pursuing my goals. And it allows you to do it for longer. And especially if you're making money while you're doing it, you realistically can just do it forever. And I think that's going to be a cool one for us, is that, yeah, I'm not going to have as much fun traveling as someone who just spent all their money and spent all their time trying to have fun, but I get to get most of the results out of it and be able to actually maintain the lifestyle, keep moving towards my goals at the same time.
Yeah. So you're thinking about the 80-20 principle when you're setting a goal or when you're deciding what an area of your life is going to look like.
Yeah.
You say that's accurate?
Yeah, for most goals. I mean, we're going to dive into times when you shouldn't use the 80-20, but I think most of the times, yes, I would be thinking about the 80-20 principle in what are the few things that I can do that are going to give me the majority of the results. But let me just focus on those, because the other inputs, yeah, they can help me move me towards my goal, but they're probably not the best use of my time.
Yeah. I guess what I'm thinking about now is the timing of when you're using the principle. If you think about the timeline of setting a goal, starting the actions, then you hit a milestone, maybe you change the actions slightly. How does it look if someone has already set a goal and now they're trying to apply this principle? Maybe if we use the gym example, the goal was I want to be 85 kilos by the end of next year. Mm-hmm. And, they've been doing X, Y, and Z, and now they're thinking about, okay, well, how do I apply the 80-20 principle to this goal? Like, does it have to change the goal for them? Does it just change the inputs? How do you see that?
If changing the inputs is going to change the outcome, then the goal will change slightly. So if I stopped doing all of these things, I won't get to 85 kilos next year, then it will change the goal. But if you knew, okay, I would be able to get to 85 kilos next year, and I could do maybe 20% of the things I'm currently doing, then it doesn't change the goal at all. The goal doesn't have to change. You just have to question the inputs you're doing right now and say, is this really necessary? Do I absolutely need this? And constantly questioning the inputs you're doing. Because if you can say, all right, well, I'm currently going to the gym 7 days a week. If I went to the gym 4 days a week, would I still reach that 85 kilo goal? And if the answer is yes, then there's your 80-20 right there.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because when I think about when our goals, the time horizons are so long, they're so far away that there's no predetermined date for the outcome. Like, we're not putting timelines on the output or the outcomes of our inputs. Like, we're measuring, our goals are almost just consistency of the input, because the input will eventually get you to the outcome. And I think if that's how you're setting goals, the 80-20 principle works so much better than if you set a deadline or something, then maybe you do need to go to the gym 6 times a week to hit it by that time. But you've just arbitrarily set that time to motivate you to complete the goal. which is not the best way to be thinking about overall what is this goal achieving for you. Like, you're working out because you want to either look good or feel good, and you don't just want to stop that at a certain time. This is probably going to be a lifelong pursuit. So, I mean, the things that we're talking about, and the goals that you should be applying this to first, if they're not being applied at all, is the lifelong pursuits.
100%, because if you have the consistency, that's probably what's going to get you to the result at the end of the day. And if changing your inputs to something that's more manageable over a longer time horizon, the 80/20s, is probably going to allow you to keep that consistency. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, but the consistency is the big thing that's going to get you there. And if just doing the things that you know will eventually get you there, not worrying about the rest, probably going to be a good way of going about it. Because if I worked out 7 days a week, but I could only do it for 3 months, I'm going to get far worse results than the person who can do it 4 days a week for years.
Yeah. And I mean, that rolls perfectly into how the 80/20 input, or how does the 80/20 just impact long-term personal growth overall?
You can just achieve more things. The way I see it is you can just get so much more out of your time. I think the first place that everyone should start, just in life in general, just the way I see it, is how do we get rid of all the online entertainment? The dopamine rewiring is at the center of it all. Once we get rid of all the online entertainment, it now means that the majority of the things that we're doing are moving us towards our goals, which is great because now we're allocating our time towards the right things. But the 80/20 is like step 2 to that. It's okay. We're now applying and adding all of our time to the things that are moving us towards our goals, or the majority anyway. But now how can we do that more effectively? How can we allocate our time to the things that are going to move us towards our goals the fastest? Rather than doing all of these small things that are going to make tiny differences, if we choose the things that are going to have the big impacts, the big levers, this gives you a huge amount out of your time, which you're now already allocating more effectively. And I think this is where you can get lifetimes worth of progress in years. I truly believe that you can get such a crazy amount done if you have 3 or 4 goals and you just do the 80/20s, and these are the things that you're spending most of your time doing. You're going to get lifetimes of results in years, and time will tell, but you will see how crazy it can become. It's just a huge unlock.
Yeah. The 80/20 principle allows you to have more than one goal, essentially.
Yeah.
Because if you weren't applying the principle and you needed to be in the top 0.01% of something, you need to dedicate 100% of your time and energy into that thing to get to that result. But if you strip back to 80/20, suddenly you do have all this time and energy, if you're not wasting it on your phone, that you can pursue multiple things. And I think the beauty of what comes with that is the compounding effect of being able to have multiple goals that are aligned or in similar buckets, of health or wealth or connection or whatever you choose it to be. Because if you can 80/20 the gym and your diet, you progress exponentially faster in both because they compound together so nicely.
Yeah, 100%. And I like what you said where you can pursue multiple goals, because a lot of the time we have a certain goal and it's like, I have another goal that I'm thinking about wanting to do, but I'll wait until I finish this one first and then I'll do the next one. The cool thing about the 80/20 is I can now have 3 or 4 goals. As we know, consistency is going to be the big thing that gets us there in the long run. I now have 3 or 4 goals that I can do 80/20 actions on all 3 or 4 of these. And in 2 or 3 years, depending on the size of the goal, I'm probably going to have achieved all of them. Whereas if I just went about doing one, just going all out on one, that would take a huge amount of time. And then as soon as I finish that, I move to the next one. This way you can just do more things in your time. And because the time you're allocating to these goals is so much more effective, because you're doing the primary actions that are going to get you there, you will get there a lot quicker. And this is how you unlock big results in lots of different areas. And I see this like adding layers to your character. The more kind of side quests, the more things that you can accomplish. And we had a whole podcast on side quests, but the more it creates you as a character, the more you differentiate yourself as a person, you figure out who you are, what are the elements that makes you if you're obsessing over one individual goal and it's the only thing that you focus on, you become quite unidimensional and you're definitely going to allocate your time less effectively. So if you had 4 goals that you wanted to achieve in the end, you could either go about it as doing 1, finishing that, doing the 2nd, finishing that, doing the 3rd, finishing that, and doing the 4th, finishing that. Or you could do all 4 at the same time, do only the 80-20 actions, and I guarantee you'll get there 2 to 3 times faster than just doing 1 at a time.
And I think part of the reason you'll get there faster is if you're doing one goal, but you're doing it 100%, not 80-20, you're doing so much micromanagement in that top, to try and get that top 20% out of it, which takes 80% of the effort, but you're changing so many things and you're second guessing yourself and you're almost overdoing it a lot of the time. Whereas, the lost 20% of efficiency when you're doing multiple things, you gain that benefit of just sticking to the things you know are going to work. You're not having to experiment with what's like the latest hack that I need to be at like the top of the game to be keeping up with the fastest progress that's possible. Yeah. Because that is detrimental overall on like a long time horizon. Like it might be good sometimes for a short-term outcome, but who's really optimizing for short-term outcomes? Like, yeah. I like what we're touching on here when you say layers of the character. Because I also think that you get much more holistic development as a person when you can apply the 80-20 principle. You're not the runner. You're not the career person. You're not, the foodie. Like you can just develop yourself, take on more attributes, more layers that make you a rounded person that has, different elements to them. It's I think being rounded is something that's really underappreciated, and I think this principle allows you to create that without having to be really specific about it, because I think it can feel a bit unnatural if you're trying to craft, I need to be holistic, I need to have like an artsy element to me, and I need to have like a sport element to me. Like that's not how it should be. I think naturally you should be drawn towards things, but you can't really be drawn towards multiple things if you can only have the time and energy to be pursuing 1 or 2 goals. Like if you have a full-time job or like kids and family or even just like, big commitments like, your house sharing or these things, they are already taking away from your time and energy. Like don't even get us started on online entertainment, sucking your time and energy, but it's already limited and such a valuable resource. So don't waste the 80% getting your 20% returns. Do the opposite.
And I really liked what you talked about, where people are in the nitty gritty about that extra 20% and they're trying to optimize, overanalyze things. And when you're trying to become like the very, very best, you're doing these things that are the 20% that, don't really move you that far, but you're trying to optimize. A lot of the time it requires you be at the frontier, at the front of it all, which means you're constantly changing things all the time. You're constantly doubting what you're currently doing, especially if this isn't your main goal. If this is like a thing that you want to do. For example, how many people, their main goal is to get jacked? Like, I'm sorry, but most people, that can't be a main goal for you. Like, that's a cool thing that you have on the side, but that's not going to be a main goal. But I see all these science-based lifters, and they're, trying to optimize their workout routines, constantly questioning what they're doing, changing things because they find a study, and everything just changes and moves all the time, and you're going to lose that consistency. I think realistically, if you just did the 80-20 of the gym stuff, you could be more consistent with it. You're not going to question things, and you're going to get better results in the long term than the people that are super in the weeds, constantly questioning what you're doing, constantly changing things around. It can sometimes be actually pretty counterproductive to the goals that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Coming back to consistency again, we just have to touch on it. If switching to the 80-20 principle is going to increase your consistency by 5%, 10%, it is 100% worth it.
Yep. No,
it's that
100%.
simple.
100%. I want to know, what is the best thing that you've 80-20? The number one thing that you say, I'm so glad I 80-20 this because this has influenced my life big time.
For me, it has to be running. Like, I started running, I set a goal this year to run a marathon a month. And that could have easily made my type A personality, turned me into a runner that runs 6 times a week, that spends his time not running, thinking about what the running plan is going to be, optimizes your nutrition for running, optimizes all your lifting for running. It does, and it can take over personalities. So I'm really glad that I 80-20'd that. And the biggest benefit that I received from doing that, which I was almost like a hidden one that I didn't think was going to come about, was I've been able to maintain my love and enjoyment of running without over optimizing, analyzing, killing that kind of joy and like adventure of just running. I was on one of my long runs once, and earlier in the year, and I noticed someone running behind me at a similar speed. And I noticed, and 5 minutes later they're still there. And so I'm just going to slow up and just like have a chat to them. Like, I'm here for another 2 hours. Like, if we're going to be running in the same direction, I may as well introduce myself. Nice young guy. He was training for an Ironman. We got to chatting, blah blah blah. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, like what's your running? What does your running look like?" I'm like, "Oh, I kind of just run once a week, like around these distances. I'm running a marathon a month, but like, yeah, I kind of just
Casually.
run. I don't really think about the run too much." He's like, "Oh, yeah, I miss that so much. I miss when I used to be like that." Because he was training for an Ironman, and so it was, intervals, 12 kilometers, 4x4 this, day 1. Day 2, swim 2 kilometers this. Everything was super structured and super planned out. And you could tell just talking to him that he had lost the enjoyment out of running. And I think that's something that I'm really glad that I still have, and it's all because of the 80-20 principle. It's just doing the basics that I know are going to get me to the goal. Like, okay, if I run at least once a week and it's a medium distance, I'm going to be able to run a marathon later in that month. So all I need to do is run once a week. And yeah, by the other side of that, it means I also just love when I do get to run, and I haven't over obsessed about it and then killed the enjoyment because you've gone too far.
And the other cool thing, because this is not your life, as you say, that this is a part of your life, you didn't become the runner. Because you got 80 to 85% of the results out of running from the training that you're currently doing, it means that you can say, "Oh, I'm doing a marathon a month," but you're not the runner. It's just a thing you do. And it's like, there's so many ways that you're leveling up, but, "Oh, this is just one part of my life." Like for most people, the marathon a month, "Oh, you're a runner. This is my whole life. This is my one thing." But for you, it's like, yeah, it's one of the things I do. There's lots of different things I'm pursuing, but yeah, this is just one of them.
Yeah, and I think kind of what we're touching on there is like how it comes across, like when you talk about yourself. If you only have that one pursuit and you're going 100% in it, it's all you talk about, and you talk about like a person that is obsessed. Whereas if it's just a thing that you do 80-20, you can just casually bring it up, and it's just a part of me. This is just something I do. And yeah, you probably will have impressive outcomes that come from that because you're getting 80%. Like 80% is still better than like 90% of the population at that one thing.
Yeah.
So,
and realistically, you're running 1 to 3 times a week. A lot of people are doing that. Your runs are slightly longer, but yeah, I'm the guy who runs a marathon a month. Yeah, it's just one of the things I do. It's pretty cool to be able to just, yeah, it's a part of my life. I'm not always talking about this one thing because it's everything I've got going on. But yeah, this is a cool aspect to me as a person. This is a cool layer to the character.
Okay, what's your best 80-20?
Mine is partying. Because this was one where I've gone circles and circles and circles around this. At the very start, I was very party centered, and it was when I was at a party or some sort of social event, it was very much how many beers can I drink? And how many beers can I get other people to drink? Because when everyone's really drunk, it's really fun, right? And this was the whole thing. It's like, how can I have as big of a night as possible? Because the more you drink, the more fun it is. And of course, the next day you feel depressed, you don't do anything, and then you're super hungover, maybe for 2 days. And then it's like, cool, I'm ready to go to party again. And then you just repeat these cycles. But the day after a party, you're just totally useless. If you're up till 4 a.m. boozing, you're going to be absolutely cooked the next day. Not only is it going to ruin your sleep, but the alcohol it's just going to be disastrous. So going from the guy that drinks, 20 beers in a night, and most people say I drink 20 beers and they're capping, but we can confirm.
We've counted.
Yeah, Toby and I had a night where we both drank 24 beers in like 3 or 4 hours. So like we're definitely not capping when we say this, but going from the person who drinks like
Not that
20,
it's something to be proud
no,
of.
No,
Let's
no.
put that out there.
I was proud of it at the time.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But going from the person who drinks 20 beers in a night and is up till 4 a.m. to going to the person who drinks like 4 or 5 and goes to bed at 11, I've had 80% as good of a night as I would have had if I stayed up till 4 a.m. But I can still be a functional human being the next day and the day after, rather than just being a complete write-off for 1 to 2 days. You get a lot of the benefit out of the social interactions, being around other people, but you're not completely written off. And the reason I say I went full circle was because there was also a period where I was like, okay, alcohol is terrible for you, which it is. And when you go out, like it's gonna ruin your sleep score and this is not good, this is not helping me move towards my goals. So I'm not gonna do any of it. And my opinion might change on this, but I think there's a happy medium here, because if you don't do anything, you become quite an antisocial person. Obviously, the social aspect is a big part of your life. So you want some element of it. You just don't want it to be the point where your social life completely ruins your regular human being life. So finding that balance for me has been a huge one and a big 80-20 for me.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the curve of an 80-20 graph, basically, as you get up to 80%, you reach the peak, and then there's diminishing returns in which you're getting nothing back. That graph looks like a very sharp, decline in terms of what happens in that last 20% when you're drinking the next 10 drinks between midnight and 4 a.m. You're really just making really poor decisions at that point.
You are. And it's not even a guarantee that your night's going to improve after that next drink. There's a guarantee the next day is going to be worse, but is it going to be a better night? Maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're trying to think about this as what would be my best 80-20, if you don't have any yet, think about what you value most that you lose in that top 20%. Like, what is the cost of that, getting that last 20% of benefit? For getting the last benefit of a social night out, the cost is the next day. If it was running for me, it would be, how I look and feel, and just being able to be a more rounded athlete in general. What do you value more? Because you're going to have to give things up to get that last 20%. And so that should be a good little indicator of what are the things that you should 80-20 and when you shouldn't.
Yeah, no, I like that. All right. What should you not 80-20? Because 80-20 is clearly a very good idea for a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking it up right now. 80-20 this, 80-20 that. We're doing it for this, we're doing it for that.
Everything in your life, except for
the main quest.
Yeah.
The one goal, which being in the top 0.01% has exponential rewards that you value. Things that this main quest that you're willing to sacrifice other areas of your life for. It has to be really, really important to you, because there's huge costs associated with pursuing it with that level of intent. But if it's that important to you, the rewards of that last 20% of being in the top 0.01%, if they're worth it to you, then this is the one thing that you need to go all in on, because there's some things in life that you need to go 100% at to achieve. Well, let me take that back. If you want to be great at anything, you need to apply yourself 100% to it. And so that is the one thing you shouldn't 80-20. It's your main quest. It's the one thing you put above all else on the priority list. It's number one.
And these 80-20s allow you to do that, because they unlock 100%. All of that time that you need to put in the 20%, which is the difference between good and great. And that probably can only be one thing for you. You have to decide what is this one thing. But you have to know that when we do the 80-20s, we're sacrificing that 20% between good and great. And if you want great, then this is where the sacrifice has to be made. But if we can 80-20 most of the stuff, it unlocks a huge amount of time. Obviously, if we're dopamine rewiring, if you've got rid of all the online entertainment, you've got a lot of time back. all of this time we can allocate into that 20% and you will become great in that one thing, but it can only really be one thing.
Yeah. It can hardly be one thing if you haven't rewired your dopamine. Like if you're working a job and then you're spending 3 hours on social media, you do not even have time to be great at one other thing other than your job. If you don't want it to be your job, you do not have time to be great at anything.
You probably don't have time for 80-20s at that point.
There are, just think about the fact that there are other people out there that have more time than you, that are probably just as, if not more consistent than you. And you're competing against them. Like all you currently have to leverage right now is your time and your attention. And so if you're giving it away to other things, what do you expect is going to happen?
Yeah.
Like, see the dopamine rewire is such a free win to then be able to open you up to chase that one thing to 100%, the main quest.
I like that word you used, competing. I think with the 80-20s, you have to relinquish this idea of competing and being competitive, because if you're going to 80-20 it, you're not going to beat the people who aren't. So don't compete in the 80-20s. Do the 80-20s. But that main thing, this is where you channel all your competitiveness into, because if you're competitive about something, but you're not willing to do the 20%, then you're not going to win and you're going to be pretty unhappy. But this is where we laser the competitiveness into, is the main quest. The main quest is where you be competitive, you do the things that are going to get you to the result, the things that most people aren't willing to do. But most of the 80-20s, do not be competitive about them.
That's a really great insight. And the great thing about it is that you can just channel all of that competitiveness into the one thing. Like I think if you didn't have anything to channel it into and you were just like, oh no, just give up being the best at anything. Like just be like good, like pretty good at like a few things. I wouldn't be able to manage that. Like I'm a competitive person. There's a small part of me that wants to beat myself most of the time, like a previous version of myself and other people occasionally. Channel that into the main quest.
Yeah, and you can be competitive with yourself on these 80-20s, because when you do 80-20s, you will improve. As long as you're consistent, you will beat yourself over time. But for example, you can't look at people who are running a 2-hour 20 marathon and be like, I really want to beat this person, because they're willing to do things that you're not willing to do. And they're going to get results that you're not going to be able to get. But the main thing, this is where we go. This is where we go all in on.
Yeah. And it's not even that person running the 2:20 marathon is doing things that I'm not willing to do. They're not able to do the things that I am able to do. Like flip it in your head so that it's like, oh no, I get to do this, this, and this that they don't get to do. Like don't see it as they're doing the things that I'm not allowed to do. Like it's much easier to think about it the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. I don't know how many of you guys also go through this, but I'm a competitive person. When I'm in the gym, especially when I was younger, and you see a guy who's like lifting more weight than you, and you're like, oh yeah, but he has more body fat than me. And then you see a guy that's leaner than you, and you're like, yeah, but I can lift more than him. And like there's always some way that you'll find of beating someone in your head mentally. And you do with that what you will, but you can always find mental hurdles to win these battles against other people, and especially when it's the 80-20s, you can always just say, yeah, they have that thing, but I've got lots of things.
Yeah. When I'm running, I've got Goggins in my head just taking souls. Like every time I run past like a 50-year-old woman, I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely no shot. Eating you for breakfast.
So
Can't
good.
help myself.
It's good.
It's a dark side of my competitive edge.
Everyone has it, but just no one wants to talk about it. But it's there for everyone in some way, one way or the other, I reckon.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't come out too much, I think you can keep it and use it as a positive fuel when you can.
Yeah. I think competitiveness, when people show it, it looks kind of gross. You don't like it, especially you'll see a lot of people. You might be playing like a board game or something, and it comes out. And it might come out in me, like subconsciously as well. But I have to go, oh, we don't want to show that. Like, this is a good thing to have. It's a really good fuel, but I don't think it's a good thing to show other people. I think it's something that you keep internally.
Yeah, keep it internal. Don't let it seep into the external world. 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, what I want to know, what are 3 things I can do right now to implement the 80-20 principle?
Okay, audit time. Audit time.
We're starting off with another audit.
Audit. Okay, what are your goals and what are the inputs that are going to get you to your goal? That's the first thing. We need to know what our goals are and what are the primary actions that we need to take to get us to that goal. Then you have to look at those actions and say, which of these actions, which of these inputs are the key levers? Which of these things are getting me 80% of the results, but are probably taking 20% of my time? Then you have to look at the inputs that are not those actions, those inputs, and say, do I need these? Do I need all of these extra things? Because if you can start removing those things, you're going to start freeing up more time to start channeling that attention into the main quest, the main goal. Because the more time, the more attention you can get back to put in the main quest, the more returns you're going to get from that one thing. So constantly questioning the inputs you have. Is this, if I didn't do this, will it prevent me from getting to my goal? And if the answer is no, maybe you can remove it. And obviously it's going to depend on the input, but you have to look at the inputs. Do I really need these? What are the big things that are going to move me towards my goal? Let me just do these and let me question the rest. Can I start getting rid of these? Because this is where all the time comes back, all the attention comes back. Probably going to unlock a bit of consistency. I think it's a good place to start.
I love it. I think so too. Great place to start. And super actionable. And yeah.
Okay. What are your 3 things to get the 80-20 in your life?
Identify your obsession, research, experiment, measure, set your boundaries. So identify your obsession. Should be pretty obvious. What do you spend all your time thinking about and talking about? What do other people think you're obsessed with, the people close to you? Identify what it is, because that's going to be the thing that you're accidentally going into the point of diminishing returns for. Research, experiment, measure. Do a little bit of research into what are the biggest levers? What are the things that I can do that are the lowest hanging fruit? The easiest things for me to do that give me the most progress. And experiment with that. Is it true for you? These people say that it's true for them. Is it true for me? Is that actually low hanging fruit, or is it actually quite hard for me to get up early in the morning? Maybe I need to do it later in the day. Experiment what works for you and measure how it feels and what outcomes you're getting and what that progress looks like. And once you've locked that in, I don't think it will take very long. You know yourself quite well. Set your boundaries with the inputs, because you're constantly going to want to push into that point of diminishing returns, into that last 20%. Like the competitiveness or just the desire to be better, whatever is fueling you towards this goal will be in the back of your head pushing you to do more. Especially if you have little bit of self-doubt, or you beat yourself up occasionally when you don't think you're making progress fast enough. The first place you're going to look is, but I could be doing this thing. Set a boundary. You're not allowed to do that thing. And remind yourself there's a reason. It's because I'm then allowed to do this with my time, that with my time, even if it's just more time enjoying other things. Remind yourself that that's why you're not putting the 80% of the effort in to get that last 20%, because it gives you everything else that it gives you.
I love that, the idea of boundaries. I didn't really think about this. But I think you'll know that there are things that you can be doing. And knowing I can do this, but I don't do this because I have a bigger goal, because I have a bigger thing. That's great. I didn't really think about that, but that's actually hugely important, is setting those boundaries. What would you say are boundaries that you set in your life right now to make sure that you still have that 80-20 for a goal?
Yeah, lots come to mind. For the gym, no more than 4 times a week. For running, no more than twice a week. For diet, don't track. For me, I tracked calories for a little while. Didn't work for me. I now just go, hit your micronutrients goal, hit your protein goal. I guess it's kind of easy if you eat the same things, but eat within a certain calorie range. Even if we think about time spent less productively when you're enjoying yourself, boundaries there around partying. I'm drink less often, and when you do drink, have a plan. I'm only going to drink this much, because a lot of that stuff is just self-talk. really. But the one thing that is interesting about boundaries is that you're going to develop as a person as you're completing all these quests, and maybe your capacity might increase to where maybe you can do like a little bit more. But that's a good point of like self-reflection, is like, do I really want to spend more of my time and capacity that I've built into this one thing? Do I maybe want to take on another goal? Because I think you can get stuck in a point where you're just not then reaching your full capacity. It's no longer your 80%. Like, I think in 10 years down the line, you're able to do more things with the same amount of time. Like your levers are just bigger. So that's like a point of reflection. I feel that maybe then you can do what you thought you weren't able to do in that 80%.
I love it. Okay. I think we're going to leave it there. That was the 80-20 principle. I think it's a very interesting topic. I think it's a very good natural step once you've rewired your dopamine system, once you've eliminated online entertainment, is how effectively can we use our time that we're allocating towards our goals. Really good natural step, but also something that you can implement at any stage along this journey. We're going to move to a Q&A in the Modern Monk community. So if you're not part of the Modern Monk community, what are you doing? Join at school.com/Modern Monk. That's it for the episode. We'll see you next week for
Another banger.
another banger.
There's some fundamentals being laid here, so don't miss the next one.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, we'll see you then.